Welcome to Real World Conversations. My name is Sasha Thackaberry-Voinovich, and I am here today with Susanne Madsen. I'm super excited to have her on, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic, not just in the workplace, but also as humans, which is resilience. And so, Susanne, welcome, and I'd love it if you could just start with 30 seconds on why we're talking about this and how you bring this into your work.
So I think the main audience, and thank you for having me on, I think our main audience is project managers or people in the project profession. And I count myself as part of those. We have stressful jobs. We live in a world that's increasingly complex. There's increased not only complexity, uncertainty, ambiguity, there is complete competition. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's becoming harder and harder to be a team member. It's becoming harder and harder to be a project manager because we are squeezed on time. We are asked to do more with less, and we are stressed. And when the world changes, when we are asked to do more and we go into stress, I think there's nothing that can help us more than a resilient mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's hard sometimes though, right? Being resilient, it can require you to be intentional about where you are in your own sort of, are you highly stressed today or are you doing well today? To be able to have some self-awareness to impact that resilience. How do you approach that with individuals in terms of finding out where they are and sort of where they need to be?
So, as with everything, we need an honest assessment from the beginning. Some people are not aware of where they are. I actually have, when I run training, I actually have a slide with the mental signs of stress, with the physical signs of stress, with the emotional signs of stress. So there are different signs that fall into different categories. Some people eat more, they eat less. Some people become irritable. Some people don't sleep. Some people, there are so many different signs. And sometime when I run training and people say, oh my God, all of those. So we need to start with an honest assessment. And I must say that for myself, I've suffered burnout almost twice. And I knew about the dangers. And the second time, I didn't even think that I was stressed because it can become such an ingrained part of us. We're just always on our toes. We're always running a little bit faster. We have high expectations and we enjoy it and we like the adrenaline rush. So sometimes this honest check-in, where am I really, is not as easy or straightforward as we think. It requires a little bit of, for me as a coach, asking questions and observing them.
Yes.
Because if a person says they have difficulties relaxing, but I'm not stressed, okay. If they fidget a lot, but I'm not stressed, so there can be signs, very, very clear signs, or they're not fulfilled, but they don't have time to pursue their passions. Well, or they overwork themselves. I know there's an element of stress in there.
Yes, absolutely. I actually had a boss once who said, you do not want to be running on adrenaline like this, which is, it's a physiological thing too, right? It's not just mental stress. It shows up very clearly in our bodies.
And it depletes us. And I think I realized that a little bit too late. So I've probably had a good 15, 20 years, at least 15 years. I don't know, probably I shouldn't count, but of having this underlying stress of wanting to run faster than what was probably healthy for me. When I became self-employed, I also began to travel a lot. I didn't want to say no to clients, but I'm not stressed because I can say yes or no to my clients. Yeah, but if you have a nice, juicy client, you're not going to say no. So yeah, it's there's a lot hidden in this.
So you start with some self-awareness.
Yeah.
You help people understand the signs and symptoms of where they are. What are first steps for sort of getting yourself out of that? Asking for a friend. I'm kidding. I'm very personally interested as well.
So there is short-term patches, there's mid-term strategies, and there's long-term strategies. We've got to put the oxygen mask on before we can even think or look at long-term strategies. We've got to help people where they're at. If I'm drowning right now, why talk about a dinner party in a month? I got to make sure I'm not drowning. And some people are, unfortunately, in a place where they are overwhelmed. That's the version of drowning I'm talking about. Overwhelmed. I've got 3 projects. I'm on the verge of breaking down in tears. I don't know how I'm going to get through my work. That could be one version of what it looks like that I'm drowning. Another version could be, I feel overwhelmed with this one project, not because I can't get my work done, but because I feel not confident. And I have difficulties facing up and interfacing with stakeholders. I don't feel confident. It's like it's eating away at me inside of me. That's also hugely stressful. There are 2 very different scenarios. So we need the oxygen mask first. I need to help them out of where they are right now. Let's not look at work-life balance. Let's just look at where you are right now. And that is about breathing patterns. It's about what can you do today to take 10 minutes to sit in silence? What can you do today to take a lunch break, a 10-minute walk?
Right.
Tell me what gives you energy right now, today. What can you do in 10 minutes that gives you energy? So that's where I start with people right now, right here, if they are really overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the breathing exercises are like the shortcut to sort of at least taking some of that away so that you can begin to think, right? Because at least in stressful situations, your cognitive abilities are impaired. So once you do sort of the immediate de-escalation or being able to take a moment, how do you help folks establish better patterns so that they don't get to that sort of more crisis moment?
Yeah. Actually, I'm sitting here with my most recent book, and actually that's what this book is doing. It's how to do the inner work. I hope it's not blurring out, but it's taking people on that journey from where am I right now, and how can we slowly begin to ask ourselves these more strategic and longer reaching questions. Because if I'm drowning, I can't even think about the future. Right. But let's say, okay, we've applied some first aid. I'm beginning to go home on time. I've delegated a little bit more. I've begun to play my instrument 3 times a week. I've begun to exercise 2 times a week. Okay, now we're not in crisis mode anymore. We're beginning to live, not just survive. Now there is mental space to think about the future. And then I can future pace them. I can say 6 months from now or 2 months from now, what do you want to be different? And
Right.
then they can dream because they're not drowning anymore. Yeah, I would love to actually be able to go home at 5 o'clock, and I would love to be able to do my music more, and I would like to learn photography, and I would like to spend more time with my family. Then they begin to dream, and all these other things that they had put a lid on come up. And then we can begin to rewire and say, well, how do you get to that place? What does it require? What does it require from you at work in a more permanently? So it could be about delegation, time management, saying no. Setting boundaries is a big one. Massive for people who are in a stressed out state, because normally I'll take on more than what is healthy for me.
Right.
I neglect my own needs and I put others' needs higher than mine.
Right. Yeah. And that's unsustainable over time, right? And it also has compound effects, because when you're stressed, you can cause stress in others, right? Or at least cause situations that could cause stress in others as well. Have you found that you're working with clients or coaching folks on this inner work? How have you developed or changed your own coaching over time?
Oh, that's such a good question, actually. Now, I actually had therapy 4 years. First, I did therapy for 2 years, and then I had like a 6 or 8 year gap, I can't remember. And then I did therapy with the same person again for 2 years. And because I did therapy, and just very briefly, it helped me to feel my own emotions, to notice my own emotions, to notice my own needs, and to verbalize my own needs. That actually informed my coaching a huge amount. I can only go with my clients where I have been myself. I can only hold their emotions if I can hold my own emotions. Right. So doing the inner work for me has been a lot of this kind of work, not just with this therapist, but also listening to a lot of other people talk about adversity, how they overcame adversity. I love stories about healing. I absolutely love it. People who have been in the most dire circumstance, either physically or emotionally, mentally, and something happens and they come out on the other side, not just healed, but as a new version of themselves, as a improved version, and then they can give back to others. I love those stories. So that's informed me a lot and informed my coaching a lot.
I love that. I think the ability to go there yourself so that you can walk beside someone else on their journey, I think that's an incredibly powerful thing for the person being coached, right? To be able to work with someone who has done that deep work and knows that it's possible and knows that there is a successful outcome at the end of this journey. That is it is amazing work that you do to be able to help people like that.
It's oftentimes I think the coachee doesn't realize how much I get from it, but I really benefit a lot as well. And on your previous point, I often say to people when I start, we can go at the speed you want, we can go at the level you want. Speed, they decide, how often to space out the sessions. But also the level of depth. I said to them, we can talk about strategies. It's fine. We can talk about time management and delegation, and they're safe topics.
Right.
And then when I see an opening, I begin to ask a little more. I'm very gentle with people. And then I know who wants me to go deep and who doesn't, because I know by what their answers are and whether they want to go there or not. But we will invariably, in a successful coaching relationship, we will go quite deep. And obviously it's confidential. They're confidential sessions. And I had a person the other day who said to me, and she was from China, and the Chinese culture is not very open. It's not you don't show much vulnerability. And she said to me, oh, you're just creating this safe space, and I feel so comfortable talking. And then I know that I'm doing my job well, because otherwise I can't help a person transform and move if we can't get to the vulnerable parts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that that happening in sort of this space that is individual, that is one-to-one, I think is really valuable. There's a lot of emphasis right now or there has been, on vulnerability in the workplace in general. And I've always been of the opinion that can be very challenging because it's not a safe space, right? Like your environment that you work in is not 100% supportive and understanding. And that deep work occurs in personal relationships. My personal belief. That's where I think that deep work occurs.
Yeah. We can have transformation experiences with our colleagues and in teams, but probably not to the same level. But people can have small aha moments, right?
Yes.
They learn. So I know a story of 2 people who didn't get on at work. They just didn't get on. And the manager said to them, you go, that they didn't want to talk to each other. You go into that room and you don't come out after, until you have resolved this. And I know because it was one of the people in the room who told me the story. And he said, I was sitting there for a while. I was angry, blaming him. And then at some point, after half an hour, after 45 minutes, I don't know, they're like, well, I guess we've got to talk about this. So we can have transformational moments at work, and also with help of group coaching is also a thing. Team coaching is a thing, but the safe space comes when we have smaller units, so pairs. In the leadership program I run, we do some of the modules online, and we create a safe space not because we're in plenary all the time with 15 people, but because we keep putting them into individual breakout sessions with each other that share. So there are ways of doing it. Yeah.
Very well designed, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing this. I am personally fascinated, and I feel like I need to do so much more work on myself now. So thank you for being with us today. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome. Take care.